Hi everyone, I hope y'all having a great weekend. This is my week 6 video response. I first want to talk about the different ways to make teaching visible and just how important it is that teachers are heard and seen. And I really like the idea of using Twitter to make sure that we're advocating for teachers and teaching, because this day and age social media is huge and a lot of people use it, a lot of people see it, and retweets are a thing. And I'm sure that when you use social media as a platform to advocate, a lot of people see it, even people that maybe aren't in your friend group or your colleague group or even your school group. Other schools could see it as well, which I thought was awesome. And I actually really like the TED Ed resources that we looked at this week for grad school, because I felt that there was a lot more you heard as far as the advocacy behind it, and I felt like there was more information being conveyed through the TED Ed videos, so I enjoyed those. I'm really excited to work on ours as a project. And from the textbook, I really like this Teacherpreneur textbook just because I feel that the different examples that they use in the book kind of gives me more of a personal perspective from what they're teaching us. And I liked hearing about Stephen, and I felt that he not only was talking about how he is an advocate for teaching, but he teaches his students to advocate, which I think is really important. And even though I'm just a kindergarten teacher, I feel as though, yes, I want to teach my kids, obviously, the different curriculum we're supposed to teach our students. So, yes, I want them to be able to read and comprehend and retell at the end of the school year. That being said, I feel as though it's even more part of my job to teach them to be good people and to stand up for themselves. And so while they're young and may not fully understand what the word advocate or advocacy means, I want to teach them to stand up for themselves, because I think that's an important skill to learn even at a young age. And so I really like that how Stephen's story, they talked about how the students were able to explain what they're doing, explain the passion behind what they're doing, what they're saying. And I felt that that's important. And that just shows that in his classroom, his teaching and his teacher advocacy is definitely visible, because it's going and bleeding through his students, which is probably, in my opinion, one of the most visible forms of teacher advocacy, because it's beautiful when a teacher is able to get through that type of passion to their students. I really think that's great. And although I don't fully relate to that because I'm a kindergarten teacher, and so obviously my students don't fully understand in depth what teacher advocacy is or what I might be advocating for, I think that even as a kindergarten student, you can feel that my teaching is visible, because they are able to explain what they're doing and explain something important in their own words, which is great as well. Another question, and I wanted to point out that I liked how on page 62 of our Teacherpreneur book, it was discussing Stephen, and it said, students are more comfortable to be around him and in class with him. It makes for a better environment. He stepped up and made us more college bound and ready. I also felt that that was an important way to show teacher advocacy, because he's preparing them for the real world and for college. And I wanted to relate that to our standards, because it made me think about how it's important to make sure that you have an environment in your classroom. Teacher leaders provide a really safe and nurturing environment for their students to learn. And it also made me think about when I was talking about TED Ed and when I was talking about Twitter, how our standards talk about how teacher leaders should integrate 21st century skills into their classrooms. And I feel as though using social media platform and using TED Ed is definitely integrating 21st century skills, which is great as well. And then the next question said, do you have a Twitter account? Yes, I do. If so, have you ever used it for advocating for the teaching profession? I have never advocated on my Twitter account. However, in college for my undergrad, I actually, at Gardner-Webb, had to make a different account for a class, and it was for education. And we had to, I don't fully remember exactly what we had to do, but we used it for teaching, and we had to look up different things for teaching. I think it was global related at the time. It was a global class. And so we used our teaching Twitter account to look up and tweet something that we had learned from a global account of some form that we had to look up. So although I have not advocated, I have used it for teaching specifically. And then it says, what are your thoughts about using Twitter in this way? Like I said earlier, I think it's great. I never even thought about it, but I think that it's a great way to get the word around quickly for what you're advocating for, and to be heard and to be seen as well. And then it says, what are your thoughts for a topic for your own TED Ed advocacy project? I would like to do my TED Ed advocacy project on classroom size, because I feel that there's an importance behind making sure that there's not too many students in a classroom, because then the teacher does not get that one-on-one or that small group time that those students really do need. I feel like classroom size impacts your relationships you have with your students. Obviously, the fewer amount of students you have, the stronger relationships can be, versus if you have a ton of students, it's kind of hard to make those more close-knit relationships. I also feel as though it's helpful for education purposes, because if your student's struggling, you can have more one-on-one time to work with them. And so I would like to do my TED Ed advocacy project on the importance of classroom size and how it does impact student learning. So pretty much, I think that wraps it up. And I hope all of y'all have a great rest of your weekend. Go Panthers, we won today. And have a great week.